welcome. We're going to do a grounding restorative practice. And I just ask that you have some things that will support you in that. And it might be a bolster. If you don't have a bolster at home, just something that would be, good cushion size, like maybe a pillow that you can fold in half, or a few blankets that you could kind of stack, just so you have some good height. A blanket is also a nice idea to have warmth, and or extra height for catching your head or maybe another body part. And then 2 blocks if you have that. So bolster or a make bolster, 2 blocks, and a blanket. You're welcome to play some music along with this if that's helpful to create the ambiance. I've lit a candle in my space. Suggest maybe some kind of offering where you can ritualize the next little bit, where it really is like just an offering of how might I ritualize this time and space and just honor the turning and tuning in. So to that, once you have all your props gathered, go ahead and meet me on your mat. And when you come to your mat, we're going to begin in a supported child's pose. So coming onto your knees, grab your bolster, and we'll settle the bolster in between the thighs. Now, if being in child's pose is not good for your knees or your hips, you could come onto your back and draw the knees into chest and just do a supine child's form. For this version today, I'm going to use a bolster, and I'm also going to use a lift. So placing a block right underneath the top of the bolster and just feeling that lift up. And you can gauge if you need more height or not. And then just very slowly coming down, letting a cheek rest. Might flip one side or the next and just feel like what side do you want to start with? About halfway through, I'll guide you to switch sides. And so just staying there and breathing. Making any adjustments as we experience and welcome these longer holds. If the body at all feels like it needs a shift, just allowing that. And comfort, the really big offering is, how can I settle myself here in a space where I can just continue to receive and receive? And in the receiving, allowing for the process of release. Feel your bones descending down into the support of the ground. Noticing the muscles just softening. No need to effort here, just soften, receiving the support of that cushion, the bolster. And we're going to switch sides with the cheek. So go ahead and just gently, quietly switch sides. And continue just descending on down. Almost feel like the body is melting or molding over these props into the earth. Just layers of tension or layers of stress that might just be present, just letting it kind of drip and drape off the body back down into the earth. And just feeling and listening for the gentle rhythm of your own breath. This breath that is coming in and out of your body. The breath is source, the breath as prana, this life force that is feeding all of us, all life. Just hearing the sweet miracle of that here as you rest and receive, as you rest and give. And then just gently, you can press your hands into the ground and slowly come up. You only come up about halfway. We're going to keep the torso at a bit of a diagonal. Take the block out, and you can place the block forward. And you're going to pivot the bolster or your blankets so that it's now up at the top third of the mat, and the long width is parallel to the top of the mat. And then crawl your way forward so that your hands and your elbows come in front of that bolster, and lay your ribs on that bolster. So the front ribs, it's almost like they're hooking at the top. You can just gently walk your legs back. The pubic bone is on the ground. And then maybe consider walking the elbows forward. Just maximizing as the elbows walk forward, the feet walk back, just maximizing that traction through the spine. If you find that this is too much lift, you're welcome to take the bolster out and simply bring your elbows wide, stack the hands, and rest your head on your hands. For those that are using the bolster, feel free to keep the elbows just as they are in this Sphinx form, or you might draw, and keeping your elbows as they are, you might start to draw your chin to your chest. So you make it a little bit more of a forward fold in the upper spine. Sometimes I prefer to keep the chin up. And other times I prefer to bring a block in. And so you could bring a block in between the arms and just gently guide the forehead so the forehead can rest. Just finding a place where you can be for about 5 more breaths. Just slow, deep, nourishing breaths here. If your head is down, we're just going to gently lift the head up. Placing the block, if you had it, just off to the side. Stay low to the ground, walk the hands back or slide them back underneath the elbows or shoulders. Click the toes under, press gently into hands, knees, engaging core enough so that you can lift. And then walk your knees in. And we're going to pivot now the bolster so that the bolster will come so that it's parallel to the long edge of the mat. Go ahead and bring your right hip next to that bolster. And then widen your legs so you're creating a double diamond formation. In this form, the outer right hip is pressing into that bolster. Taking your hands either in front of you or behind your legs. Use the ground to help lift the spine. So you're going to push your hands down and lift the spine up. Inhale. Keep the spine lifted. As you exhale, start to pivot towards the bolster. And the pivot, can you let that originate through the ribs? Left low belly wrap spirals. And then walking your way down onto that bolster. Now, if the bolster feels too far away here, you could again prop yourself up higher, a block or two underneath the front. The chin looking to the same side as the legs will be a little bit less of a twist. If you want to keep going with the spine, the head, you could certainly bring the left cheek to the bolster. And so this one, it's a bit of a hip opener release. It's also a bit of a spine presence unraveling. It's just feeling, all the feels that show up here. Being sure to prop yourself in a way that feels sustainable so you can be here with a lot of ease. Every exhalation just in the practice of softening, melting over the bolster. See if you can really willingly let the exhale wash over the body and soften the whole body. Just easy inhale. And taking a little bit of a bigger inhalation, use that elevated lift to bring your hands gently in. We'll just slowly press up. And bring that left hand behind you. The right hand can come over the bolster and we'll spin so that the back of the body is touching, the back of the pelvis is touching the bolster. Bring your hands behind the shoulders. We'll just lean back into the hands and a gentle press into the feet and just stay here. Welcome to keep it as is, or maybe squeezing the shoulders a little closer and lifting the chest, maybe lifting the chin, arcing the back a little bit. And then other side. So the knees will fall to the left and we'll move the left hip towards that edge of the bolster. Take a minute and just receive the weight into the left sits bone. Hands behind you or in front, use the ground to help lift. Inhale. And then exhale, turning, twisting, pulling the ribs, just gently guiding to let them fall and be caught and supported right on that bolster. And again, you decide if your cheek wants to be left or right. Left would be looking the same way as legs. Right might be a little bit deeper rotation. And just melting, melting, melting. Just riding that ebb and flow. And then use again an inhalation and the support of the hands drawing in to guide you up. Spinning around. And spin so that you can come seated. I'm just going to spin so you can see me. And for this one, we're going to start with the feet out in front of the pelvis, feet touching, knees out. Start with your hands behind you. And just assess. You might decide you want some height or some cushion underneath your pelvis so you could sit on something. You might decide that being seated doesn't feel right, so you might come on your back and do this lying down. I'm going to suggest grabbing a block or two to bring out in front, and that will be either for arms or your head as we fold forward. Just take a moment, feel the feet finding each other in the ground. If you can, grabbing a hold now of either the shins or the ankles and just gently pulling back so you can lift the chest through, lift the head up. And stay there gently, starting with the chin, drawing the chin down, breathing into the back of the neck. And then slowly working down the vertebrae, maybe coming more into a fold. You get to decide how much of a fold. We'll be here for about 10 breaths. So again, finding just slowness in the approach. The head could hang, or sometimes I like to catch the head. So either elbows and then catch your forehead. Stacking the hands or catching the forehead right on that block. Every breath cycle, just highlighting awareness into the back of the body there. Arms are really soft, jaw soft. Just finding yourself in slow time, just present fully with yourself. And whatever it might be here, it might be sensations. You might be noticing the stirrings in your mind, emotions, energy levels. It's all welcome. Walking your hands in closer, use your inhale and just gently rise up. Excuse me. And let's grab now 2 blocks. And we're going to transition from a forward fold into a supported back bend. So we'll take 1 block at the highest setting and then making a T with those blocks. We'll take one that kind of sticks out from the high setting. And the second one will be on a medium setting coming out in a T. We'll place either the blanket or the bolsters right on top of that lift. And for this one, I'm going to encourage getting a blanket too, just so you have some extra warmth. Your house is a little chilly like mine. And I'm going to just unwrap that before I come back. And so bringing yourself, so the back of the pelvis is right on the bolster, and then you're just going to slowly trace yourself back. If you find that the blocks feel like they're either too pointy in places, you could switch the orientations of the blocks. You could also put another blanket on top of the blocks before you add the bolster. And then letting your legs come either straight, or you could come into Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet touching, the knees wide. Can you bring your arms so that they're just letting them fall? They're falling right by your sides. The palms are facing up. With the palms up, it just encourages the head of your arm bone to further orient back and open. Just allowing for a little bit more freedom around the chest. Letting your legs soften, jaw soften, breath deepen. And letting the chin continue to move away from chest. And the back of the skull just rest. The body just being draped over the bolster. And if your legs are straight, just gently bend your legs, bringing the soles of the feet to the ground. And slowly we're going to just come off the bolster by rolling to one side. You can choose. Come all the way onto the ground. And just take a moment here on the ground. Sometimes I'll extend that arm, the lower arm, and let it be like a pillow. Just letting the knees kind of come in and just sideline, resting. And then you can reach behind you. And if you can, go ahead and move the bolster to the side. Reach behind you, grab the blocks, and just move them to the side. And then you can just roll right onto your back. Once you're on your back, grab again the bolster. And this time we're going to place the bolster right underneath the knees. Just creating a nice cushion. And straightening the legs. If you remove the blanket, placing the blanket back on. And sometimes it's nice here to have a little bit added weight. So if you do have like an extra cushion or an extra blanket, or maybe you even have a weighted blanket or a weighted pillow, and you want to place that on your body somewhere, you're welcome to do that. And if you have none of that, you might also just place your hands. Sometimes I'll place my hands on my hip bones or my belly or my chest. Just kind of listen in and feel where that might feel supportive for your body, just to help you ground. And or your hands might just come by your sides, arms just resting deeper into the earth. Let's take a few minutes here as we rest in this final form of Shavasana. The breath really easy and feeling the nourishment of that exhalation. Just checking in with yourself here. And you might ask, do I want to stay longer? If that's the case, just continuing to rest. If you're closing this practice with me, just gently, gently pull the knees a little closer in. You might just kind of feel the feet up onto the bolster maybe. And then roll onto a side, and we'll side lie for a moment. If you again want to use the bottom arm like a pillow, you might extend that arm and just lay side lying. And using your hands, just gently guide yourself up, no rush. But guide yourself up so that you can come and situate yourself seated. You might transition so that you have a more comfortable seat. Maybe move to a chair, or maybe there's a bench or a cushion or something nearby. And then just tenderly, one hand maybe to heart. You might rest the other hand on top of that hand, or maybe that hand stays rooted on your legs, or maybe on your belly, your womb. And or you might just imagine your hands are making contact somewhere on your body. Just feeling for a moment, there's the nurturance of the self-tending. Yeah, this feeling yourself here in your seat with tenderness, with kindness, with slowness. And may you be nourished. May you feel supported and held. May you feel resourced. And may you honor the cycles of which we are all a part of. The cycle here to close, just feeling and honoring the ebb and flow of your own breath, noting the rise, the fall. Let's close with one breath together. Let your breath go out. Nice breath in and out. Mm. Thank you for choosing to be in this sweet, slow practice.